What's up? Welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. This is episode number 35, and I am Adam Choit. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram as well if you want to follow me, and the same on Twitter. And of course, I have no affiliation with the band. This is not an official podcast. I am just a fan. And if you're listening, I'm guessing there's a good chance that you might be too. So please be sure to subscribe as well and give the show a positive review on iTunes. Doing those things is definitely helpful for sure. So, today's guest is Philadelphia-based actor and playwright Jared Delaney. Growing up singing and performing and always having eclectic music tastes, it's the soul aspect of Tedeschi Trucks Band that really grabs him. Having been to over 30 TTB shows now, we cover a lot and fanboyed up over so many aspects of the band. Jared is very articulate about his feelings toward TTB, and never more so than when he tells a very touching story about his mother and one particular Gabe Dixon song. So let's just get into this one. Here's Jared Delaney. So it's good to see you today, Jared Delaney. Thank you for joining me on the Zoom. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, great. How you hanging in there during this wonderful year?
You know, it's a struggle for all of us, I guess. I'm over here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we just sort of entered a new stage of not quite full lockdown, but pretty close. So we're trying to, everybody in town's trying to do their best to stay healthy and stay safe and not go crazy. So we're doing what we can.
That's good. I try not to be too political on the podcast and stuff like that, but you just made me think of how we have all these stages for lockdowns and masks and what we should be doing and what people are telling us to do, the authorities. Kind of had the same thing for like terrorism back in the day. I'm getting a little nostalgic. We had the different colors, I remember.
Yeah, oh, remember the colors?
And there was no arbitrary aspect of that either. But I do hope things get better for everyone out there, health-wise and people with their jobs out there and just mentally, physically. I hope we can hang in there and things do get better.
Me too, man. I hope so too.
Oh man, why don't we get into it? Why don't we get into your life and you could tell me about your musical journey and a little bit about your story. Why don't you tell me what's your earliest, I guess, musical memory? Let's just go into that. 4 or 5 years old. Do we have any songs that jump out at you or anything like that?
Yeah,
or around that age.
Yeah, I'm sure. Music was big in my house, probably in a lot of houses. And my mom in particular was a really big fan of sort of those early to mid 70s singer-songwriters, right? So there was a lot of Paul Simon, Elton John, James Taylor was a big one, Cat Stevens, Billy Joel, all that stuff was kind of playing all the time. Judy Collins was huge in my house. So I have memories. The memory I'm thinking of right now is there's a song Judy Collins recorded. I can't tell you the year off the top of my head, but it was sometime in the 70s, I think, called Song to Hiawatha. And what I remember about it was about whalers. And there was actual whale song in the track. And I have a real vivid memory of hearing those whales sort of echoing in the background while Judy Collins sang this sort of very sad song about sailors leaving and never coming home and stuff like that.
Yoko Ono could only do dolphin kind of sound.
That's right.
She doesn't do whale.
They doesn't do whale.
It's still a mammal. Do they sound similar? Yeah. I actually have no idea.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, whales have that. They have that sort of very high, sort of drifting up and down sort of tone, and I think dolphins mostly kind of click and whistle kind of thing.
They're percussion,
but they're the percussion.
It's a different section of the band. Yeah. And where did you grow up? Were you born and raised in Philly? I know you're there. You live there now.
No, I was born and raised in a town called Kingston, Pennsylvania, which is the closest big city that most people probably have heard of is Scranton, PA.
Gotcha.
Where Joe Biden is from and where the office is set. Yeah. So that town, Scranton, is maybe, I don't know, not even 10 miles from Kingston, PA. But that's where I grew up. And then, and I still have a lot of family up that way. And then when I went to college, I moved down here to Philadelphia, and I've been here since.
Was that a small town you grew up in? What kind of town was it?
Well, it's sort of small town-esque, I guess. But what's funny about it is that Kingston sits in this place called the Wyoming Valley that the Susquehanna River cuts through. And there's a lot of towns in that valley, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania being another one maybe some people have heard of. And there's a bunch of all these little towns that all sort of run together. So in the Wyoming Valley, I think there's in the neighborhood of maybe 300,000 people altogether, if you include all these little towns. So it wasn't a suburb exactly, right? Because there wasn't a really big place nearby, but it wasn't as rural as a lot of other places could be. It was sort of right down in the middle, small town America. Yeah.
Yeah. And central PA, I guess, is more spread out, especially with some of those smaller towns.
Right.
What about, what kind of, was that what you were into, the type of the singer-songwriter stuff that your mom was playing around the house when you were like elementary school age and a kid, or did you find other music too?
I found all kinds. Music was always really big for me in a way that I don't even know if I fully understood, but I liked those singer-songwriters a lot because they were on. And then, like any sort of kid who was born in the 70s, I was born in 74, we all became obsessed with Michael Jackson for a hot minute. And then I remember I took a deep dive into hair metal like you do back in that day in the 80s. But there was always a lot of different kinds of music in the house. There was like, along with all that singer-songwriter stuff, there was like show tunes and there was my dad was a big jazz fan, so like jazz would be playing, and there was all kinds of stuff playing in the house. So my tastes are pretty expansive, and always kind of have been in that regard, because there was always kind of different things playing.
Did you have siblings who played music?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 3.5 years younger than me, and we have a similar feel for musical tastes. And he and I have a tradition. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw TTB was with my brother at the Beacon Run, and
nice.
2019.
What about playing music? Were you guys musically inclined? Did you play in school? Did you sing, dance? Did your parents do that as well? Like, what about performing and all that stuff and playing?
Yeah, tons of singing. There was a lot of singing.
Oh, wow.
And my family, my extended family were pretty close. And whenever we would get together, it always sort of ended a drunken ending of people singing like old George M. Cohan songs, like It's a Grand Old Flag and Over There, and those sorts of sort of 1920s Americana songs. And then I started doing, when I was in high school, I started doing musical theater. And I would perform in the school shows and stuff. So I sang in those. I didn't pick up an instrument until I was in college. I picked up the guitar and started playing that in college. But a lot of singing, always a lot of singing around.
That's cool. Yeah, that's the same thing with me picking up guitar in college, although no singing and performing before then. So it sounds like musical theater and performing was going to be part of your future. Is that kind of like what you thought you'd be doing as you went through like high school? You're like, oh, I'm going to go study this and pursue this. Did you kind of always know that, or where did you see your life kind of going in career?
You know what? I didn't. Back then, it was just, I went to this really small high school, and at that school, everybody did everything. So because it was so small, so I was a jock. I did the shows. I was on the committees for things. All my friends, we all did, because the school is so small that everybody did everything. And when I went undergrad, it was cool, because there wasn't, at least the way I remember it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember there being really serious cliques of like, these are the jocks, these are the theater nerds, these are the math geeks or whatever. I don't really remember that being the case.
How many people were in your graduating class?
88.
Yeah, that's pretty small. You can't. It's hard to have clicks, but it's a decent amount of people, I guess.
Yeah, it was a decent amount of people. There certainly were like, you had your own little circle of people you hung around with, but I don't really remember there be really, none of the stuff you see in like movies and stuff where the clicks were so awful to everyone. So when I went to college, my intent was to be a journalist. I wanted to write for Rolling Stone. I wanted to write about music for Rolling Stone. That's what I was going to do. But when I got to school, I had a friend who I'm still friends with today who wanted me to try out for the collegiate theater group. And because she knew I had done it in high school. And I sort of went under duress. And I went and I got cast in the show. My friend didn't. I felt terrible about that.
What school is this? Did you say?
LaSalle University. I went to LaSalle for undergrad and a couple other schools for grad school. But then when I sort of got back involved with the theater then in college, and I was going to try to I played soccer and I was going to try out for the soccer team. And I got on for a little bit, but it wasn't for me. And then I started doing theater more regularly in school. And then even then, when I graduated from undergrad, I actually got a job as a journalist, writing for a local newspaper out this way. And I still wasn't thinking that theater was going to be like, acting was going to be like a gig for me. But I fell back into it after a couple of years and went back to grad school for it, and have been performing in one way or another kind of ever since.
Where's LaSalle again?
Philly. It's in Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's one of the big five for anybody out there who's a basketball fan. The big five is Philly. In Philly is LaSalle, Temple, Villanova,
Drexel,
St. Joe's. And
Drexel's
out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Drexel is oddly not considered one of the big five. Penn is the other one. So it's really like the City Six or the Big Five.
Yeah, I remember looking at some schools in Philly, in that area. I'm from Long Island originally, so
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm somewhat I know where Wilkes-Barre is, and of course Scranton, a lot of these towns. Yeah. Driving up to college in Syracuse, that's where I went to. Went to schools. I remember the Northeast a little bit. Been in LA quite a while now. What about? So you played guitar? You said, like me, you really picked up guitar in college. What was that? Yeah, what was that like for you? Like learning? How did you learn? Did you get better? Do you still play? Tell me your
I still play. Yes, I still play. I'm not an extraordinarily gifted guitar player by any stretch of the imagination, but I still play. I have a guitar. I'm looking at it right now. It's a Log. It's a French-made acoustic guitar that I have here, and I have a little baritone ukulele, and I've got a little 3-string cigar box guitar that I mess around with sometimes. When I was in college, I picked that up probably when I was a sophomore, I guess. And like a lot of college kids, I immediately was in a band, right? Because everybody's in a band in college. Sure. So I had a band with some guys that I was buddies with. The name of our band at that time was Plastic Soul. That was the name of our band. And we played a few gigs and like some parties and things, and played some open mic nights. And then it was fun. We even recorded a demo, like a very, lo-fi kind of demo. I have no idea what happened to it somewhere. But then when I graduated college, I got a job. I got a real job, and the other guys in the band didn't. So they kind of kicked me out of the band because I wasn't around. I wasn't available for rehearsals and stuff anymore. So I think, if I remember right, those guys sort of limped along for maybe another year, but it didn't go anywhere.
Plastic
like
Soul?
Most bands. Plastic Soul. That was the name of our band.
Yeah. Maybe maybe it's time to bring it back. What kind of music did you say you guys played?
We played it was sort of generic early 90s alternative rock, sure. It didn't sound, it sounded like a million other bands, but
what were you playing? What were you playing? Rhythm, lead? What kind of stuff were you playing on the guitar?
I played guitar. I played rhythm. was one or two tracks where I would play a harmonica, although I couldn't really play it. I just sort of was feeling it out. And then I sang, and I wrote a lot of the songs. I wrote a lot. We prided ourselves on, we played originals. We only did 2 covers regularly.
That's cool.
And everything else was originals. So we were very proud of that.
If you grab a harmonica that's in the right key and you blow into it a little bit and suck into it a little bit, you'll sound like it'll be music.
Oh, you totally sound like you know what you're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. If it's in the right key, you're totally fine.
That's what I've heard. Or tried myself occasionally. That's cool. So so you went to grad school for
performance.
For
theater.
And what was that like, and where do we go from there, kind of in your life and journey, and where does music come into it? Kind of give you the floor a little bit.
So I went to Villanova for grad school, and it was a great experience. It's a great school, and of course a spectacular basketball team, which is awesome. And finished that program in a couple of years, and did all kinds of performances there, all kinds of different plays, and still did some musicals while I was there. And then when I finished, I immediately fell into the world of professional acting. And probably, I don't know if people know this, but you don't have to live in New York or Los Angeles to be a professional actor. There's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I was like, why are you not like my neighbor or something?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of work to be had as a professional actor in kind of local communities. Most cities have professional theaters that pay, a union wage, and there's a lot of local commercials and things that are shot. In Philadelphia, a lot of TV shows and movies are shot here. So it's actually very possible, although obviously right now with the pandemic and everything, everything's shut down. But prior to that, you can make a living. And that doesn't mean it's always easy. Like any arts gig, whether it's music or theater or whatever it is, it's always a challenge. But like right before the pandemic hit, I filmed an episode of an HBO show that was shooting in town, and I filmed an episode of a show that appeared on AMC, and like a couple of little independent films and stuff. Like there's always stuff happening around these communities, especially that have film schools and a lot of students and stuff. So, and then the other aspect of my acting career is that I was able to travel a lot doing professional theater. So like I performed in California, I performed in Maine, I performed off Broadway, I performed in DC, kind of up and down the East Coast. I did a couple of tours, doing different kinds of things. And it's been, a pretty good life. Like I don't have a lot of money or anything. I'm not a big fancy, movie star, but it's been a pretty good career, and I'm pretty grateful for it, and get to do something different.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you you've spent, other than traveling for shows, you've spent all of your career in the Philly area, pretty much, like that's where you've lived?
Yeah, I've lived in Philly since I finished grad school, and with the exception of leaving town to go do shows, and for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, I have been out of town doing gigs more often than I've been in town doing gigs. But
that's good though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You get to go away, you get to come back, which is nice, and you're getting paid to go away.
Did you ever have thoughts? Right. Yeah, I was going to ask, did you ever have thoughts of like LA or New York or moving somewhere else or something like that? Or is it that you've always just you love Philly, and you probably have a lot of family and friends. It's your home. So, I mean, what about somewhere else potentially? What's the thought?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of, when I first started my career, I thought I was going to move to New York. I thought that was what the plan was going to be. And then I started sort of booking gigs. So I didn't. And then I had these other plans that sort of always fell by the wayside. In fact, as far as Los Angeles is concerned, I did have a recent plan. I was going to be out there the spring of 2020. I have a really good friend in LA. I was going to go out there, crash with her for a couple of months. And I had some prospects lined up for maybe some different kinds of gigs and some writing gigs, because I'm also a writer as well. And then again, as we all know, the pandemic happened, and travel like that sort of wasn't really feasible. So I'm hoping that in 2021, I will be out in Los Angeles for a more extended stay. I mean, I've been out there, but this time for a longer stretch of time to try to open a couple of doors while I'm there.
That's cool.
So
Awesome.
we'll see.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Sucks
When I'm out there, I'll let you know, man.
Yeah, oh, do that. I was gonna say, it just sucks that this has ruined everyone's life
Yes.
to one degree
way.
or another, and it's all about us being thankful. It's not to a further degree than it is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else?
No, that's right.
What else can you
I
say?
mean, that's right. I mean, my 2020, like everybody, like I had all these plans. So I was going to go out to Los Angeles. Last May, I was supposed to go to Alaska for a theater conference because a play I wrote had been accepted into this conference. I've never been to Alaska. I was super excited to go. That got canceled. A couple of friends and people who I work with to create performances. We were going to take a show to Scotland, and that got canceled. And I was getting married. I was getting married in July, and we had to cancel the wedding. You know,
I'm sorry.
So we got married anyway.
Yeah,
it does.
Congratulations.
Thanks. We got married anyway, but it wasn't the big, having all your friends and family there that we had hoped. So it's just been a hard year for everybody, and I'm grateful that nobody I know has gotten really sick, and nobody I know has lost anyone, but I know that lots of us have. So yeah, I'm like you just said, I'm thankful for what we, what I've got. And I hope that we all make it through okay, to the next step. I hope.
I'm praying.
Yeah, man.
I'm not even
Seriously.
too religious, but I'm gonna start praying. What about going, into your career post college? What about like music? What music were you listening to? Were you continuing to like fiddle on guitar even as a hobby? What kind of bands were you getting into? Tell me about like the music stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
In your adult life.
Yeah. I still fiddled with guitar. I still fiddle with it a little bit. I pick it up and play it. As a matter of fact, there was let me think, it was a couple of years ago now. I can't remember the exact date, but I was in a show. I was in a play, a Shakespearean play, a play called King John. And part of the conceit of that show was that there was live music being performed by the actors in the show. So I had my guitar and I was part of this like band that was playing during the show, which was really cool. And we performed all kinds of music while the play was going on, which was really neat. But, I've been listening to, and right after college and all this sort of stuff, all kinds of things. Like I again, like any kid born in the 70s who's a Gen Xer, I dove deep into grunge, right? And I still have a lot of love for those bands, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and all of them, and Pearl Jam in particular. I do adore Pearl Jam, still to this day, adore them. And then, sort of around the early 2000s, I started to sort of maybe dive back and listen to, like, that was around the time I started to really get into the Faces, for example, super into the Faces. And I feel like they're one of the great bands that don't get the recognition they deserve. And my taste has always been pretty wide. My favorite single band of all time is the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
Who of course are connected to TTB, as we know.
Of course.
And the Crowes have been with me. They were my very first concert. I saw the Crowes when I was 15. They opened up for Aerosmith on the Pump Tour, 1990. I remember it clear as a bell, at the Lackawanna County Stadium. And I've seen the Crowes in their various incarnations and side projects and solo whatever, probably more than 50 times, and all the various combinations thereof. And this, and so they've always been a real constant for me. So that kind of bluesy, soul-filled rock and roll has always really appealed to me. And I first heard Derek when he was playing with the Allman Brothers, as an example, because I was into the Allmans too. And that side of that spectrum always appealed to me more than the Grateful Dead side. And I don't hate the Dead or anything, but I like my jams a little more on the bluesy side than the sort of cosmic side, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think I'm the same way. I've never articulated that either, but I'm more the same way. Like for sure, I like it more bluesy and maybe even a little bit more like aggressive, a little, a little bit.
Yeah, a little
times.
bit. Yeah, at times, right? It's not always, and there's some Dead songs and there's some Dead shows that I've heard that I've always really enjoyed. But on the other hand, I'm not sure why I'm going off on the Dead here, but the worst concert I ever saw was the Dead. I saw the Dead in 1994, the last time they played in Philly before Jerry Garcia died, and it was awful. It was an awful show, and I didn't enjoy it. They thought they sounded bad and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I've always enjoyed that more, like you said, like a little more aggressive, that bluesier stuff. I just feel I like that soul. I like that soulfulness of it. And I feel like the Crows had that. I feel like, like the North Mississippi All-Stars have that. Certainly TTB, who I just adore. I couldn't love them more than I do. I just love them so much. I think they're the best band in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking the nostalgia out of it, wouldn't TTB be your favorite band? Taking the nostalgia out of the Black Crowes thing?
Taking nostalgia out of it, TTB is absolutely my favorite band. I have, like I said, I've seen them about 30 times so far. I wish it was more, but life gets in the way and you can't always follow your favorite band around.
I want to.
I know I want to. If I could, I would. I've got a ton of their posters on my walls. I'm a member of the Swamp Family fan club, and I can't get enough of them. They're just the best. And like I said, I saw them last time I saw them was at their Beacon Run in 2019. I went to two of those shows, the Beacon Run, and they were spectacular.
I was asked, what was your first TTB show?
My first TTB show was in Portland, Maine. It was Portland, Maine. I think it was either their first tour, maybe it was their second tour. They played at a small outdoor venue up there, and whatever the show was, I'm sure I could look it up. It was for the Revelator tour. It was that very first Revelator tour. And I knew Derek. I knew his work from the Allman Brothers, and I knew Susan's work from her solo career. I was always a fan of both of them, and I knew they were together and everything. So I was actually in Maine at the time working at a Shakespeare festival. I was there all summer doing plays all summer. And it just so happened that my day off was the day TTB was playing in Maine. So I got a ticket and I went to the show and was just blown back. They totally knocked me out. And I still have the poster I bought from that show framed on my wall with Derek and Susan's signature on it. It was incredible. So that was 2010, I think. 2010 or 2011.
2011, yeah. One of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you meet Derek or Susan or anyone in the band before or after the show or around the venue or anything like that?
I did not. I truth be told, I have yet to meet anyone from the band. I'm not even sure if I could keep myself together if I did.
Wow. And you're an actor. Just act like you have it together.
I know. That's right. Yeah, exactly. I just have to act like it. I have yet to meet anybody. And I hope I get to. I've met Derek's dad many times because, he sells the merch.
Sure.
And whenever I go up to the merch table, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Trucks, it's really nice to see you." And he doesn't know who the fuck I am, but he's always really cool to me and really polite. And I remember I saw them just a couple of weeks after Kofi passed away. I saw them in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I went to that show by myself. And Hershey, PA, from Philly is just about 2 hours, so I drove out there by myself, saw the show, and I was at the merch table and Mr. Trucks was there, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, Mr. Trucks, I just, I don't want to disturb you, and I know you're busy. I just want to say how sorry I am for your loss." And he was really gracious with me. He's like, "Thanks very much. We really appreciate you saying that. And, we really miss him," and all that kind of thing. And he was really cool. He was really cool to me. So that's the only person I've met so far.
Yeah, that's surprising because you said you've been to 30 shows.
Yeah,
So I feel
30
like
shows. Yeah.
everyone who's, if you love the band enough to go to, I guess more than one show, at some point you'd want to go up to them or some of them or members and just be like, "You're awesome. I appreciate what you do," or something like just to even just say that. That's funny.
I know. I feel like there's a little bit of that thing with me, and I've always been like this with all the shows I've seen. There's a little bit of like, I don't know that I always want to meet my heroes. Like
I got
I
you.
want them to, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. If someone says, "Hey, I got you a backstage pass to hang with TTB, do you want to do it?" I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not the guy who hangs around at the stage door for them to come out. Like, I just don't, I don't like to do that. And I'm not knocking anybody who does. It's just not my thing.
It's my thing for them.
You sure, man? And I totally get
for
that.
this band and for them, not for most people or for other things. I would say.
Right. So yeah, I hope to meet them. But I'm not in a rush because just being at the show for me, and I'm sure for you and for everybody who's a fan of this band, anybody who's listening to this podcast, it's such a gift to see them. I really do feel that way. And I know we're paying to see them and this is how they make their living. And like, it's slightly transactional in that way, but I really do feel like it's a gift because I always, whenever I see TTB, I always walk out feeling better than I did when I walked in every single time, and there are moments, when they play, I don't know, Midnight in Harlem or Justice Strange, or when I saw them at the Beacon, I was at the last show of this last run, and they played Dreams, and it was like being transported to another place, and it just feels so good. It just feels so good. And the other thing about it, for me, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, and if I'm talking too much, tell me to shut up.
No, I don't have to do anything. You're preaching to the choir, and it's cool to hear.
The fans, right? The TTB fans are such good people. I always find them to be such good people. Everyone's really generous and really welcoming. And I've never had an occasion to be at a TTB show where I didn't strike up a conversation with someone I had never met before. And it's always really great. The guy I'm thinking of here, who lives outside of Philly, who I met at a TTB show 2 years ago when they did that Outlaw tour with Willie Nelson and Van Morrison, and it was an amazing show. And I went by myself, and there's this guy sitting next to me. He was with his family, and we just started striking up a conversation, and now we're friends. We talk to each other all the time. We go see shows together. We saw Marcus King together a couple times, stuff like that. And it's a real gift. The fan base is a real gift. And it's just it's great to feel like you're a part of that community.
For sure. And that's like a big reason for me to do this podcast. And one of the things I'm seeing more and more is a big thing that's beneficial to me is just meeting all these other awesome fans and people connected to the band. And I just thought of something earlier that I wanted to mention was I talked to Ori Naftali, the guitar player from Southern Avenue. And he was saying, because I asked him a similar question, like, when you first meet Derek, blah, 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 blah. He's like, yeah, you kind of almost don't want to meet your heroes. I don't know if he said it that exactly, but his point was that once you meet them and you see how down to earth they are and nice people, you like them even more than beyond just the guitar icon. It's like, this is a real person. And your connection to Derek and the rest of the band and the music is that much more deep and meaningful and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It becomes more profound that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like when you see them, they are such a family up there, and, even as we see members of the band sort of, they leave to do other projects or whatever, or Gabe coming in to take Kofi's slot. Sometimes that can have a real impact. And, I'll tell you a story. I can tell you a personal story about Gabe Dixon, if I may. I don't know if this would interest anybody, but
go for it.
In 2017, I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer, and it was really sudden, and it was a real surprise. And she was diagnosed, and then 6 weeks later, she was gone. And the week that she passed, I was home. I was actually in rehearsal for a play, and I left rehearsal and I drove back to my folks' house, which was about 3 hours away from where I was. And I'm sitting there with my mom, and my mom, as I said, was this huge music fan. So she was in hospice care, essentially, in our house, the house I grew up in. And I'm sitting there with her, and I'm holding her hand, and she was totally cognizant, and she kept saying to me, play me some music. And I was like, okay, Mom. So I'm playing her music off my phone and different kinds of songs and stuff that she likes. Like I said, like Elton John and Van Morrison and all these sorts of artists that she loved. And she said to me, hey, I need you to find a song for me and play it. And I said, "What? Anything you want. What is it?" And she said, it's a song called All Will Be Well by the Gabe Dixon Band. And at that time, I had never heard of Gabe Dixon. And I don't know where my mom heard of him. And so I was like, okay, Mom, absolutely. So I downloaded that song and I played it for my mother. And it's I don't know if you know that track, but it's a really beautiful, it's a simple song. It's a song about hope and a song about, getting through. And my mother held my hand and she sang that song along with the track, trying to tell me that everything would be all right. And it was just obviously this really, really powerful moment, really intimate moment. So anyway, my mother died 3 days after that, right? And so then not long after that, Kofi passed away. And I went to go see them. And I don't know why I didn't know this. I guess I was distracted by my own loss,
life,
of course.
Yeah.
By life. But then I didn't realize that Gabe Dixon had joined TTB. And so when I saw that it was him, it was a really, I don't know, it felt like this really powerful connection to the music even more. And I mean, I've never met Gabe Dixon. Gabe Dixon has no idea that this happened to me, but it meant something to me. It meant something to my mother. And so to know that TTB was suffering a loss and Gabe Dixon helped bridge that gap, and I suffered a loss and Gabe Dixon helped bridge that gap, made me feel that much stronger about the band and the music and all of that. So,
dude, that's awesome. That's a great story, and that's like real. Like you can't. I don't know. I'm similar in a way. I'm always kind of like searching for meaning and connections, and not saying that that's what you were doing here. That's just an obvious thing that it was right, before you to make that like sort of connection. I don't know. Maybe it makes me think that there is some kind of like something going on beyond what we understand. I'll just say that.
Yeah. And I think there might be. I mean, I don't know what it is or what you want to call it or what, people can believe anything that they want. But I will say that when I'm at it, especially when I'm seeing live music in general, but especially when I'm seeing TTB, I definitely feel some kind of connection to, I don't know, something bigger. And it feels hopeful. It feels joyous. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think my mother would be grateful for that too. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's amazing how that can bring people together.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to like get some of that Gabe Dixon story clip, cut together and put that on social media and tag him in it and whatnot. Make sure
maybe he'll hear it. That'd be
because
great.
I know that you're not going to go up to him either before or after the show.
I'm not going to go up to him like, hey, Gabe, before you go on stage, let me tell you this story about me and my mom real quick. not gonna tell him that,
or I'll just tell him the story in person, like at a show. You have more opportunities though, because you're in the Northeast, and as former guest Sean Roach has mentioned, like you're in a sweet spot for shows.
Yes, I'm very lucky for that.
You're in a sweet spot. I'm not.
That's the nice thing. No, you're not. What's nice thing about being in Philly too is that Philly is so centrally located. I'm only 2 hours from New York. I'm only 2 hours from DC. I'm only 2 hours from kind of any other place that they're playing. And of course, they play Philly often. So it's really easy for me to sort of bop up to see them at the Beacon, or see them down at Wolf Trap right outside of DC, or wherever, and get to see the band play, which is just a real gift too. I cross my fingers. I bought tickets. They're supposed to play the Delaware State Fair next summer, and so they announced the show. They released the tickets. I bought a couple. Hopefully it'll happen.
When is that supposed to be?
I think it's supposed to be July. I don't remember the date.
They don't have anything planned before June, I don't think, of next year.
I don't think so.
If I recall their website.
It must be July. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to the first show, whenever that is. That's like, I feel like I need to be there for that. That's my goal, beyond just like when they're in my neck of the woods. It's just like, get me out to that first show, because that's gonna be an interesting vibe. The second one will probably be better, like musically, sonically. But like, I don't know if I said this before, but Tedeschi Trucks' band has never been anyone's worst show that they've been to. Like, there is no bad Tedeschi Trucks band show. Maybe by their like perfectionist standards or something, musicianship standards, they might disagree. But from a fan perspective, my perspective, like, there's no way that they've ever played a bad show.
No, I totally agree with you, because I think the thing about TTB, there's many things, but one of the things about the band is that every component of that band, and this is something I really marvel at, is so good at what they do, right? And it impresses me how, and I think I mentioned this to you when we were sort of going back and forth on the Swamp Family page. I'm so impressed that they can lose members and bring other people in of such high quality, who can really play, who can really sing, who can really do whatever it is they need them to do. And the quality maintains, and they're so tight. It's just an unbelievable organic collection of, and I know that they work hard and they rehearse and they work those songs till they get where they need them to be. But you're right. I mean, there isn't a bad TTB show. There may be some that, like, I feel like that last one I saw, the show that ended the Beacon run, was maybe the best I ever saw them. It was just an extraordinary night, but I don't think they were ever bad. I've never been anything but blown away by every time I see them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only about how much are you going to be blown away that night, and the best show is the most recent one, or the next
Absolutely.
one. That's kind of what it is.
Right now, the best show is the next one, 100%, because we all can't wait for that next one to come.
I can feel me fanboying out a lot, and you the same, but I feel like that's okay, because that is the form for this, and I almost like forget that, because I'm just like gushing every episode. I'm like, am I talking too much like about the band? I seem like this like totally. I'm not like being objective in any possible way, or I'm too complimentary, but like, that's what this is. And like, we are speaking truth. I think so.
I think we are too. And, listen, as of right now, in my opinion, they haven't put out a dud record. None of their studio records are duds. They have their live edge is as sharp as it's ever been. And I feel like studio wise, they keep improving. I feel like the quality of the recording improves, and the songwriting is the songwriting was always strong, but I think the songwriting is getting stronger as they go along, in my opinion. And so, it's and also I think we need to remember as we fanboy out, TTB is still relatively a young band. I mean, Susan's been around for a long time, and Derek's been around for a long time, but this unit, 10 years, right? Like, that's not that long, not really, so they they haven't had that sort of mid 80s Dylan period yet where it all kinds of falls apart and you're like, what's going on? They haven't done that. And
I don't
I don't
think
know that they
that's
ever
going to
will.
happen. Yeah, as long
I
as
don't
they
think it
stick
will either.
together, and as long as they
Yeah.
stick together, I think they'll keep it together and keep playing great music for sure.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, I think the way they're going, I think we're going to see Derek and Susan up there in their 70s, still playing, because
if they want to.
Why not? If they want, there's no reason that they can't.
Yeah, and they definitely are getting better.
I'll be in them.
Yeah, I'm saying they definitely are getting better because I will hear Derek play things like make a sound or do something on the guitar that I'm like, I don't think I ever heard that dude or anyone else on the planet do that before. Just a strange guttural high-pitched sound, a low-pitched sound, some sort of combination of notes. I'll be like, I don't think I heard anyone do that quite exactly like that. Even maybe Derek himself. I'm not sure, but
absolutely.
And everyone in the band is doing things like that in their own way.
100%. The thing that strikes me so much about Derek, and I know we could talk all day about what an amazing guitar hero he is. He's such a lyrical player. He's making that guitar sing. It's singing notes to us, and it's so. I can't think of another blues-based player, and that's what he is. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but that's what he is, right? I can't think of another blues-based player who forms with such an easy grace as he does, right? Those notes just glide off of his instrument, and he finds ways for them to really to float. They haunt, right? They can attack when he wants them to, but I find more often they don't attack. They sort of envelop, and it's stunning. It's stunning the way he plays. In nature of how he performs, as opposed to more of a traditional blues player, which I think Susan is. And Susan, super formidable guitar player in her own right, really, really good. She's more of a traditional blues player, and I think Derek does something else. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. No one. It's like the human voice quality, the singing quality that he can kind of like get out of the guitar that I've talked about with many guests. But that was really well put and well articulated. How you described his playing, because music can be a difficult thing to describe and talk about and express, because that's like why it exists in the first place. I think is because some things cannot be expressed, our emotions and whatnot, solely through words. But you did a pretty damn good job before, my friend, talking about Derek's guitar.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
What about no problem? What about any other like highlights or anything else jumps out at you from shows you've been to? Like, I'll kind of just let you do your thing and talk anything about TTB you want to talk to. Talk
right on.
About.
Yeah. There's lots.
Before I let you get out of here.
I'm so happy to be on. One of the highlights that pops into my head was there was a few years in a row here where TTB would come to town, and they would do a 3-night stand at a small theater right outside of Philly called the Keswick Theater. I think they did it 3 or 4 years in a row where they would play 3 nights in a row. And so I would always go to those shows. And I am also a giant, like a lot of people, and I know I'm not unique in this either. I'm a giant, crazy, huge David Bowie fan. Love Bowie. Love his artistry. Love the expanse and the breadth of his work and his vision and the music. The music is just so good. And of course, I know you had Tim Lefebvre on the other day. He played with Bowie, right? He played with Bowie on Black Star. He played on Bowie's last record, which to me is just also unbelievable. So I saw TTB. It was, I believe, that same month. Maybe it was the next month. I have the date somewhere. I have to look it up. But they played right after Bowie died, is what I'm saying. And it was the third night, I believe, in this 3-night stand. And they were coming up for the encore. And they ripped into It Ain't Easy.
Yeah, I love their version of that.
It's so good. And because we were all like still reeling from the loss of David Bowie, who we all thought was like this immortal, space god. It was just I remember just sort of losing my shit. And the person who I was with was like, what? I was like, it's Bowie. They're playing Bowie. And I know that's not a Bowie song. He didn't write that song, but we all know it from Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And I just lost my mind. And it was a really incredible moment. Just like another moment was when the first time I saw them at Wolf Trap, which is again right outside of DC, on the Wheels of Soul tour, the one with Marcus King and the Drive-By Truckers, which was an incredible show, and I love both of those bands. They covered Tom Petty, "You Don't Know How It Feels," and it killed. It just killed to hear them play that. There's something about, as much as I love their original music and I adore it, there's something about hearing a band as accomplished as TTB is give tribute to musicians that they look up to. And they play those songs with such passion and such sincerity. It always really knocks me out. It always really knocks me out. I also, again, this last Beacon show, and I know I keep talking about it, but it was the last I saw them. They did, Loving You Is Sweeter Than Ever. And they had Joss Stone come out. And I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast has probably heard that track.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. But it was amazing to be there live, to see them play with Joss Stone. And to be, I don't want to be dismissive of Joss Stone. I just sort of never thought of her much one way or the other. I knew who she was and I've heard some of her music, but I didn't own any of it. And I didn't listen to it a lot. But hearing her sing with Susan was really incredible. And again, to feel sort of the passion of the moment was just really great. And hearing them play that Hershey Park show that I keep talking about, hearing them play Midnight in Harlem at that show, which was one of the first ones after Kofi died, without his flute, right? And instead
the organ.
We heard the organ and we heard Kevy's saxophone. It was really powerful. It was just really, they were mourning while they were playing that. And it was really something to be there for that moment.
Yeah, I definitely remember like after Kofi passed, like seeing the video clips on YouTube and whatever footage came out and listening to recordings. They definitely had, you can hear the band in mourning and see them in mourning.
Absolutely.
Like, beyond just like wearing black and playing tribute on stage with, with the decor or whatever, but
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I'll say about that in terms of highlights is in 2013, they did that tour with the Black Crowes, the last Crowes tour. And I saw that tour twice. I saw it once up in Massachusetts. I saw it in Boston, down here in Philadelphia. And seeing them play an encore together, the Crowes and TTB play together, was like my musical brain, my favorite thing, just exploding. Really incredible. Really awesome. Incredible to see them play together.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've seen or heard or both like almost like 60, 70, 80, maybe more higher percentage of all those things that you're referencing, all the shows like Dreams at the Beacon. I listened to, I'm pretty sure that's from 2019, October 2019. Yeah. Because like I recognize Keswick, the name of that town, just from archive.org and like all this, like listening to all this like live music for sure. And like, that Dreams it's like 13 minutes long. It's like,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It's like a journey. I don't know. Something about that song. I have to keep coming back to that and the Allman Brothers versions as well.
Of course. It's a huge epic you drift along on. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah.
For sure. I've definitely appreciated your time and all the stories. It's been amazing.
It's been a real pleasure. I'm so psyched to be on, and like thanks for doing this podcast for about this band that we love and so many people love, and I hope more and more people are subscribing to hear it. I hope the band gets to hear it.
Thank you. And I just want to I'm happy to just continually just to have conversations like this, like all the time. Cause it's just,
man,
just it makes me feel like, oh, there's other people who are like this too.
That's right. Yeah,
I know there are, but
we're not alone.
Yeah, no, for
we're
sure.
not alone.
Yeah. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you? Anything else you want to mention?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love
here?
anybody wants to check out my work. I got a website. It's jaredmichaeldelaney.com. They can check that out, and they've got links to projects I'm working on, and if anybody wants to see anything like that, I'd be super happy. I'm on Twitter at BlackCrow1027, and that's also my Instagram, BlackCrow1027. 1027 being my birthday. So if anybody wants to check out what I'm up to or thoughts about TTB and share them with me, I'm super game for that. And I'm on the Swamp family. I'm in the Swamp family, which is how you and I connected. So right. I just go by JMD there. If anybody wants to look me up on the Swamp family board, always happy to meet TTB fans and talk to them and have new friendships and develop a new community. So by all means, come out and say hi.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What a nice guy. You're see that it's funny because I think I'm like, oh, I'm a pretty nice person. Then I hear something like that from you, and I'm like, oh, I have a ways to go. I have a ways to go. I'm not that nice, but maybe I'm not meant to be.
I think you're pretty fucking nice, man. You just invited a stranger on your podcast, and I'm super grateful. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it for sure, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Talk soon.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
So there you go. My conversation with Jared Delaney. That was a lot of fun. Me and that dude could probably go on all day long talking TTB. The way he described Derek's guitar playing, I love that. But anyway, for now, hope everyone is hanging in there during this super fun and wonderful 2020. For now, check out Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. And of course, please remember to tap subscribe or follow on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever way you listen to this show. And again, positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated. But I think that's about all I got for today. Thanks again for listening. Later.
Truth around your head.